Hi, and welcome to another in the edition of our property investment education series. Today's topic is entry level developing. Now, you might be thinking, oh, hang on a minute, I've got no desire to become a developer. That's way too risky, way too involved. It's okay. This education is still relevant to you because you don't need to do any developing um, or go through construction or get involved at all to enjoy the benefits or the additional growth and capital growth and financial benefits of property development. And I'll show you how that works. So basically, before you've seen this, hopefully you've already seen the other videos in our education series. So you've got an understanding of what we've already done as far as researching supply, demand, location, making sure the cash flow is right, and all of those other things. So all of those would play a role and would be the foundation or foundational research that we've already done before overlaying the property development opportunity on a property as well. So really important that you've seen the other ones before watching this one, because we'll certainly be referring to those in the context of this. So development X factors, basically all the other supply, demand X factors or research criteria that applies to all investment properties would still apply to your property development, but then we layer on a whole new level of research as well on top of all the existing ones, because there are certain qualities and requirements in the particular block of land, the zoning, the dwelling that's already on the site, if it has one, that needs to fit in within certain criteria to enable us to do what it needs to do. And the basic objective is, and the reason why developing is attractive, or development sites are attractive, is they enable you to actively increase the equity, or actively do something to create the additional equity growth, rather than just waiting for relying on time and the growth in the market to deliver the capital growth outcomes. So you're actively playing a role in the growth of your property. So you can see here, you would have seen this image on previous videos, but now we've got, so it's got all those other interacting systems of research and business systems that go towards ensuring or taking the risk out of getting the result on your property. But now we've got the one in red as well, being developments. And as a bit of a visual representation, so if you buy a standard property, you may need to interact with some or all of these service providers, or we can do so. If you're looking at a property development, there's certainly an additional level or additional volume of service providers. Yeah, the big ticket items are your town planner, council, architect, designer. There's a new scope of works that we put onto the building inspector, and would certainly engage a local builder as well, to as all part of the due diligence and research process. Basically, we like doing the research to mitigate risk, and to, I'm not a big fan of taking risks, especially with money. So our general philosophy is use research, use great service providers to help mitigate the risk as much as possible. That way you're not flying blind, you're making a very informed decision. But there's no doubt that it adds a few more complexities than a straight investment property, because it typically involves obtaining development plans and permits. But here's the important thing, because you don't have to get plans and permits for a development site to make it more profitable than a regular site, and you certainly don't have to go through the construction process on a development site to make it more profitable. The very fact that it has the potential to develop, which is something that we can ascertain through the research process, means that it's going to be appealing, that particular property is going to be appealing to a greater number of people when you're going to sell it down the track. So because your standard investment property is going to appeal to local owner-occupiers looking for a place to move in for themselves to live in, and investors looking for, like to buy a place that returns a yield and makes money over time. So there's your potential market that you're appealing to with a typical or standard investment property. When you've got an investment property that also has development potential, you're still appealing to those same two target groups that we've just described, but also to developers and builders. So you've just included two more big groups of purchasers into your overall demand pool, and that's your whole objective. Remember, your whole objective is to have maximum possible demand, maximum competition amongst people that want to buy your property if you're going to maximise the return and the growth outcome. That's why you're typically attracting the highest amount of capital growth on your development site, because you've got more land content, which enables that duplication. You can literally turn one block into two or three. Your single block, you might subdivide it and turn it into a dual occupancy, or you might turn it into a 3 or 4 townhouse site. So you're creating that duplication effect, which creates equity, as well as the fact that you've got a property that's going to appeal to another two categories of people. So that's why you're seeing the increased growth. But all the same research data still applies to a development site, and it's still very, very important. If you haven't seen the video in our education series on future supply and demand, really important that you give that a look, because then all of a sudden this graph that you have in front of you here will make all the sense in the world. So, and the reason I'm bringing it up again now is because even if you find a cracking site that really has great potential to develop, and you get a great permit to really maximise the equity growth, but you buy that site in the wrong place at the right time, you might generate equity from the development process, but if you bought at the peak of the market, any equity that you've generated might be lost through a market slide or a market reduction. So if you really want to maximise every possible component in your investment strategy, then it's so important that you combine any development activity with making sure you're buying the right place at the right time in that particular cycle. So, and if you pull all of those together, so all the research that we've done in all the previous videos, and again, really need to watch that future supply and demand one, then you can start to expect these sorts of returns on your development site, without necessarily taking any of the risk associated with going into construction, etc. So pretty exciting, and if any of this is appealing to you, then again, encourage you to watch the next future supply and demand video with the crystal ball, and once you've seen that, then certainly get back in touch and we can see where it goes from there. Great to connect with you again. Thanks for joining me, and look forward to speaking soon.